Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, my friends. This is Carlos Vargas, and we're coming early today because I have a great guest with me today. You know that I'm always talking about that you need to improve yourself, keep growing, but also connecting with other people that are bigger than you, people that are ahead of you, so you can learn from them. And one of my best friends introduced me to a great author, a great business coach. And when I learned about what he was doing, I said, I need to connect with him and I need to learn more from him. So you probably saw something last week that I said, hey, this is coming out. So I said, if I get the opportunity to connect with Brian, I'm gonna do it. So my friends, I have Brian Dixon, business coach and author. And Brian, it's an awesome to have you here with us today.
Carlos, I'm so excited to be here and to serve your people today. Thanks for having me.
So Brian, tell us a little bit about you and this awesome project that is coming out.
Thank you so much. Yes, there's a brand new book called Start With Your People, because I believe that the key difference between a business that succeeds and a business that fails is the way we treat the people that are in our business, and not just our customers, but also our team. It's so important to start with your people. I believe that that's the decision that changes your business, changes your life, and can help you really grow your business.
And I already got a little bit of a preview because we got connected, and it's awesome what you're doing. So you said that starting with the people, and a lot of times we think like at the big level with a lot of people, but you have a different approach. Tell us a little bit about that. You said that instead of starting with the people, the big, you start with one. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. It might be your neighbor. It might be your spouse, your wife, your husband. It might be your kids. Because I really believe that the way we show up for one person is how we show up for other people as well. And so as we're trying to grow our business, as we're trying to get referrals, as we're trying to think of, who can I network with, right? Who can I sell my product or service to? I think that's the wrong question to answer. To ask. I think the question to ask is, who do I know that's stuck? Who do I know who's really struggling? And how can I help them? How can I help them win the day? How can I help them get unstuck? And often those are people that you wouldn't necessarily put on your dream client list. In the book, I tell a story about how I was trying to grow my business, and I was reaching out to influencers, and people that were pretty well known in my industry, and I was not getting anywhere. It came across as kind of like spam, and nobody knew who I was, and so I had breakfast with one of my pastors, and I said, I'm trying to get my business off the ground. It's just not going anywhere. And he said, well, what do you want to do? Said, well, I want to coach people, but one thing I can do is I can build websites. So I said, well, let me think about it. And a couple days later, he sent me a text and he said, I just had a conversation with somebody who said they needed a website. Maybe you can meet with him. And I got to tell you, Carlos, that person was not my ideal client. It wasn't a very large fee for the website. It wasn't really in my sweet spot of my coaching. But I knew I could help him build a website. So I built this website for this guy. I call him Jack in the book. Built the website, and I was a little sad about it. I thought, the project's over. It didn't really lead to anything. And literally, the day I'm handing over the keys to the website, we're meeting in this coffee shop here in my town. I gave him the username and password, so it's now his website. And as I'm about to wrap up that meeting, somebody walked by and heard us say the word blog. And she said, a blog? I'm looking for somebody to help me with my blog. And so then I helped her, and I got her website off the ground, got her blog off the ground. And as I was talking to her about her blog and what her goals were, she was actually attending a blogger conference, one I had never heard of before. But because I showed up and I served her, I got introduced to the person that hosts the conference. A year later, I was speaking at that conference, and many of the clients I started working with came from that conference. And if you trace it back, Carlos, it goes all the way back to showing up and serving for somebody, even if they weren't necessarily the ideal client. And many of us in business, that's the mistake that we make. It's a mistake I was making all the time, is I was overlooking the people already in my life. what I realized when I show up for the people in my life, including my wife, including my kids, including my neighbor next door, if I show up for them, you just never know what that's going to lead to.
That is so amazing. And it's interesting because we're both on, it looked like we have a connection because I'm on the IT field too. So
Amazing.
looking that sometimes you try to work with one type of person and it doesn't work, or you're looking for something else, but just showing up. And I love that when I was going through your material, that if you just show up, but you also mentioned in another part when you sign up for some of the resources, that if you can click here, carlosvargas.com/people, you also start helping to define what is the ideal client, because you said that you need to know what client you're gonna serve. Give us a little bit of that. How did that came about to define that ideal client?
Oh, that's such a good question. That's another mistake I see people make is they try to serve everybody. They believe that my client is somebody with a paycheck, or somebody with a checkbook. That as long as they're willing to pay, then they can be my client. And at first, yes, show up and serve the people that need your services, absolutely. But as your business starts to scale, the better thing to do is to niche down, to focus on what I call your one dream client. Imagine if you had clarity of exactly who your client is. So for example, for me, her name is Cheryl. So I gave her a name, like a real person. She's 35 years old. She has 2 kids. She dreams about writing and publishing a best-selling book. And right now she's focused on her Instagram and her blog and getting that going. And every Thursday afternoon, she has some time. Her husband takes the kids, picks the kids up from school, and she has the afternoon to go to her favorite coffee shop in downtown Cincinnati, in her little, her city where she lives, and she works on her blog. And she's there for about 10 or 15 minutes before she starts to feel overwhelmed. She starts to compare herself to everybody else. She starts to want to give up. And then she heads on over to my social media, to Brian Dixon's Instagram or my Facebook. And she gets a little bit of inspiration, encouragement, and instruction to not give up. See, that is my ideal client. I serve her for free through social media and through my emails. And I charge her, I serve her for pay from my personal coaching. So that's what I recommend to you guys as well, is to figure out exactly who is your ideal client, where is she stuck, what are her goals, and how can you help her get unstuck? And I have a whole process that I teach inside the book, Start With Your People.
And I love it because I've been going through it, nailing it down. I also love that you have a little Excel file that you call, I think it's your life plan, that you get us to look at. So from now on to when you're 50, and then how many kids you have and how they go. How did that clarity came to you, and how do you have that idea?
Oh, that's such a great question. I was looking at my annual goals. I was going through like a goal setting program about, I think it was 3 years ago. And the guy who was teaching it just said, imagine when you're 50 years old. And it was really hard for me to do that. I was like, I don't know what my life is going to be like when I'm 50, but I know what my life is like now. And I know what my life was like last year. And Facebook will remind us what our life was like 5 years ago, because it'll give us that, this day 5 years ago. And so what I did is I wrote out in this spreadsheet, I wrote out my age at the time. So I think I was 38 at the time. So I wrote out 38. And then I thought, this will be interesting. I wonder how old my kids will be when I'm 50. So I wrote their ages at the time. So, my son was 6 at the time. So 6, 3, and we just had a newborn. So I wrote out their ages. And then I wrote out my income from that year. And then I wrote out my weight. And I wrote out just like these measurables, statistics about my life at 38. And then the next column, I just added a 1, right? I added a 1 to my age. I added a 1 to my kid's age. I added 10% to my income because I thought, I could probably increase my income 10% if I keep showing up for my people. I dropped my weight down by 5 pounds because I was getting a little heavy, and I was like, maybe I could drop 5 pounds over the course of the year. And then what I did is I took that column and I dragged it out. And if you guys are Excel nerds like I can be, you can see the calculation. And it was incredible, Carlos, to see, wow, when I'm 50, my son's going to be a teenager. My daughter's going to almost be a teenager. My youngest is going to be, just seeing the ages of them, seeing what my income could be if I just increase by 10% per year. If I focus on my fitness just a little bit at a time, what could my life look like in at the time it was 12 years from now? And I think sometimes what we do is we lose the long view because we're so focused on the immediate, right? We have access to all the movies that have ever been filmed, all the music that's ever been recorded, right? With news 24/7. And it can be really easy to focus on right now. But I believe that we need to have a long-term vision. So that's one of the bonuses you get when you start with your people is I created that spreadsheet. I built it for you as a template. And I even include video instruction on how to use it. So you can have this life calculator for yourself.
So I have been loving all the resources. So my friends, if you click this link in here, if you go carlosvargas.com/people, that will take you directly into Brian's landing page where he is explaining everything, how he created, why he did it. And there's a lot of free resources when you get the book. So you need to get the book. And the book, Brian, is coming out
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
So I got a preview and the resources and everything. So my friends, make sure that you, number one, share this video. So if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, on Twitter, on any of the platforms, share this video. Number two, after you share it, click the link below. Click the link so you can get there and you can get these resources. And stay tuned because there's a lot more things coming. Brian, it's been a pleasure to have you. Any final words, Brian?
Oh, thanks so much, Carlos. The one question that I started asking about a year ago to my wife, but I'd say pick one person in your life. Pick one person in your life. Maybe it's a coworker that you're not getting along with. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's your boss. Maybe it's a certain client that you're having a difficult time with. And ask this question: what can I do to make your day? Now, the first time you ask that question, they're probably not going to answer you because they won't even know what to say because you've never asked it before. But just in casual conversation, that's what I do now. Each and every day, I just say to Julie, hey, what can I do to make your day today? Because people generally know. They generally know where they're stuck and the one thing where they need some help. And what would our world be like if we were the kind of people who are looking for opportunities where people are stuck and helping them get unstuck, serving them, showing up and serving them? I think it would be a better place to live. And that's the kind of world I want to live in.
Well, my friends, there you have it. It's been a pleasure for us to have you here, Brian. And again, guys, go carlosvargas.com/people so you can connect with Brian. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you on another video.